Welcome back to Venture Onward. Today I plan to talk about Star Wars as a new account proclaims that LEGO is casting an Ahsoka-inspired interpretation of Hera Syndola's vessel, the Ghost, which has a Jacen Syndola, the son of Syndola and Kanan Jarrus, an action figure. The Bad Batch's Emery Carr has been placed to be an adversary, but new acknowledgements about her interpretation that she could be a potential secret hero after all. And Season 3 of The Mandalorian has begun to set Bo-Katan into the limelight. Jacen will make his live-action debut in Ahsoka if current Star Wars merchandise-related news is accurate. The information arrives civility of Promo Bricks, a platform with a substantial track narrative of breaking LEGO-related announcements. It asserts that LEGO will release a revised interpretation of Hera's vessel in the animated series Star Wars Rebels, the Ghost, to overlap with its impression in Ahsoka. A Jacen Syndola minifigure will be welcomed with the reworked Ahsoka-inspired Ghost, which means the character could materialize in the forthcoming Disney Plus show. While the news came in on April Fool's Day, Promo Bricks has since verified through an Instagram story that it is not a joke, as noted on the Star Wars Leaks subreddit. As Lucasfilm has not officially confirmed Jacen's inclusion in Ahsoka, any gossip enveloping his possible involvement in the series should be handled with a seed of salt. Jacen Syndola isn't the only legacy Star Wars character gossip to emerge in some degree in Ahsoka. Citations close to the exhibition support that Rebel Alliance leader Mon Mothma will occur in the Disney Plus show, portrayed again by Genevieve O'Reilly. O'Reilly once performed Mon Mothma in Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, and most recently, Andor. The Irish performer will reportedly repeat the Mon Mothma part in The Mandalorian. Should these statements verify correctly, O'Reilly's interpretations would celebrate the first time she's got the elder Mon Mothma to life, as this more senior manifestation of the character was created by Caroline Blackiston in Star Wars, Return of the Jedi. Another Star Wars veteran whispered to emerge in Ahsoka is Diana Lee Innocentue. Innocentue is portrayed by Magistrate Morgan Elsbeth in The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 5, Chapter 13, The Jedi. That episode indicated that the criminal Elsbeth had links to Star Wars Rebels villain Grand Admiral Thrawn, who the online gossip mill reasons will again return in Ahsoka. The show will allegedly see Elsbeth climb a reprieve task to recover Thrawn from an earlier unknown junction of the Star Wars universe. The one-time magistrate allegedly advances, finding Thrawn in his latest guardian, Enoch. However, fans can anticipate more from Ahsoka than characters reclaimed from prior Star Wars movies and TV shows. Insiders report that the forthcoming series will present a once-overlooked type of lightsaber with a rapier-shaped saber. These insiders even urge Ahsoka to feature a tweaked interpretation of the cross-guard laser blade structure created and well known by Kylo Ren in the Star Wars sequels that they express as comparing a red claymore saber. Ahsoka is slated to come on Disney Plus sometime in 2023. Throughout Season 2 of Star Wars, The Bad Batch, the Empire's scientific analysis outpost on Mount Tantus has overlooked the environment as the most significant new menace to Clone Force 99 and their liberty. Dr. Royce Hemlock is the lead scientist and villain connected to the base. Nevertheless, his associate, Dr. Emery Carr, could be more important on the show. In the last moments of Star Wars, The Bad Batch's season conclusion, Emery indicates she is a clone and directs to herself as Omega's sister. She questions Omega to entrust her over Nala Se, a proposal that is difficult for Omega and the audience to receive since, thus far, she includes only being offered as a faithful servant of the Empire and associate to Dr. Hemlock. This association has appeared, particularly during her exchanges with Crosshair. Nevertheless, studying her last impressions of Star Wars, The Bad Batch shows she could have been functioning against the Empire all along. Emery Carr first materializes in a small role in Star Wars, The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 11, Metamorphosis. She primarily functions as Dr. Hemlock's aide, supporting him in managing the containment of the Zillo Beast and corresponding to the appearance of ex-Kaminoan Prime Minister Lama Sutta Mount Tantus. This unpretentious curtain raiser soft pedals the extent that she carries later in the series. Emery next appears in Season 2, Episode 12, The Outpost. After the Empire carts Crosshair to Mount Tantiss, Emery is the first to talk with him once he revives. While at first, she seems threatening, critical junctures in this exchange suggest that she could be a far more virtuously gray character than she materializes. Even though she looks stoic, Emery treats Crosshair more like a person than the rest of the Imperial hierarchy. When talking with Crosshair, she first discourses him by his number, CT-9904, but then questions if he prefers Crosshair. Notably, throughout the season, the other Imperial leaders Crosshair has operated with have only guided him by number instead of name. While Emery appears to be entirely on the side of Dr. Hemlock, her activities also indicate that she is attempting to rescue at least some of her fellow clones. During their first encounter, Emery tells Crosshair, "Cooperate and you may survive." While this message appears threatening, she is attempting to alert him about how much threat he is in. This compassion for Crosshair also shows her efforts in Season 2, Episode 14, Tipping Point. General, while Emery could be portraying a more lenient jailer to Hemlock's lousy cop in her interactions with Crosshair, her interactions with Crosshair also show that, in her separate way, she seems to be far more concerned with Crosshair's survival than Hemlock or even Crosshair himself. She again precautions Crosshair to cooperate, alerting him about Hemlock's plans. While she pursues Hemlock's directives for the interrogation, she even attempts to go leisurely on Crosshair, which permits him to flee, however brief that may be. Unlike Omega, who holds a tight family with the squad, Emery has not been around individuals who genuinely care about her. At the end of Plan 99, Emery tells her clone roots to Omega. She says, "We're sisters, Omega." Nevertheless, what being sisters mean to Emery stays obscure. In discussion with StarWars.com, Keisha Castle-Hughes, the vocalist-performer for Emery, describes, "I think that it's much more intellectual space that Emery understands that being sisters means something, but probably hasn't had that emotional experience yet, and hasn't really had the emotional experience of family." Throughout Season 2, Crosshair's storyline has centered on dehumanizing and tossing clones beneath the Empire's boot. In Tipping Point, Hemlock says that Omega is a clone, and, therefore, Imperial property. This idea that clones are property instead than human beings rises to Emery, who could have been one of Hemlock's undertakings in the past. His personality arc delivers important context for Emery's function within the Empire and her little authority. While Emery is a doctor with a more elevated status within the Empire initially, she still requires more security from Dr. Hemlock. If she enrages him or moves against his directives, Emery knows she can curl up one of his experimental subjects. Because of this acknowledgement, her minor uprisings against Hemlock's directives and Crosshair's cautiousness are far additional heroic than they first appear because they place her in more danger than the audience realizes. Therefore, the reveal that Emery is a clone radically recontextualizes her activities throughout the show. Even though she probably has small strength beneath the Empire SS boot, she has once served to defend Crosshair. As her bond with Omega and maybe Crosshair increases, she could be a helpful ally in saving Omega from Mount Tantiss and the altercation against the Empire altogether. She also considers her family connection to Omega essential, even if she needs help comprehending what lineage represents. The Bad Batch Season 2 is now streaming on Disney+. When The Mandalorian began, it was a vast experimentation. It was the first series that Disney Plus released and the first live-action Star Wars series. Also, The Mandalorian starred an unblemished character, Din Djarin. Even though Baby Yoda pushed the series to fame, Din was consistently the protagonist. But that has altered over some time. Season 3 has begun to put Bo-Katan into the limelight. Now, numerous show lovers think Grogu is the titular Mandalorian because he can connect the Jedi and the Mandalorian ways. Yet, that idea could be modified again. While Grogu is officially a Mandalorian foundling, Bo-Katan is growing into the Mandalorian's top-liner character. However, it's too early to convey, but Season 3 has placed her to join the dispersed clans of her people. If she can achieve that, she will allow to be the Mandalorian on The Mandalorian. During the Clone Wars, Bo-Katan Kryze was a component of the deadly terrorist party that Darth Maul carried over. She also bore the Darksaber against the Creed's rules and condemned her people, forcing most of them to be eradicated during the fall of Mandalore. Finally, Bo-Katan had enough of his rule. So, she decided to play nice and apprehend Maul. That was just one of the numerous conclusions that Bo-Katan pushed to keep herself and gain control. Because of her self-serving perspective, numerous lovers of the character believed that Bo-Katan would be Season 3's adversary. Yet that has yet to stand to be the case. She expended the opener brooding on Kalevala, but in Chapter 18, she began to carry a turn. She saved Din from a dreadful nightmare creature and assisted him in finding the mines of Mandalore. After that, she could have faded again, deciding to do her objectives, but she performed that notion. She's entered the Children of the Watch, and the Armorer, the spiritual leader of the tribe, seems to have significant goals for her. Near the end of Chapter 21, the pirate, the Armorer wanted to talk to Bo-Katan privately. She told Bo-Katan that all Mandalorians were required to stop by the Creed, but numerous didn't because it needed to be more radical. Nevertheless, the Armorer had a thought. Bo-Katan had wandered both ways with her helmet on and without it. Having witnessed both sides, she could compel other Mandalorians to the Children of the Watch's views. So, the Armorer granted her consent to remove her helmet. The Armorer's idea was more than just about compelling people to her clan's beliefs. She wanted something more. She desired all of Mandalore to unite under one flag, and Bo-Katan was the ideal candidate to make that a reality. According to Mandalorian predictions, a new age of Mandalore was considered to start when somebody occurred and tamed the mythical mythosaur. The creature only lived in folklore, but somehow, Bo-Katan witnessed one. That signaled that she had what it takes to be in charge, which could guide her to a showdown with Din. The Armorer thinks that Bo-Katan will represent the fate of Mandalore and obtain the clans jointly once more. Of course, Bo-Katan is not a leader, but she could be. If she can, she will safely have evolved the series' titular Mandalorian. Despite Mando's Darksaber and Grogu's cuteness, carrying a whole civilization would make Bo-Katan the due to headline the series. So, as Season 3 resumes, it will be fascinating to see Bo-Katan's development and how the mythosaur sighting shapes her destiny. Well, that's about it for now. New episodes of The Mandalorian are available to stream every Wednesday on Disney+. Thank you for listening. Until next time, venture onward.